You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh man, there are brutal losses, and then there are that. Tigers lose this one 5-4 to the Guardians. Welcome into Locked On Tigers Postcast. And everybody put on a brave face because this one stings. My heart hurts, but happy to have you along. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers Postcast your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If this is your first time tuning in, well, welcome. My name is Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. I was formerly with the flagship 97.1 The Ticket, now fired up to be with Locked On Tigers, representing the postcast with the live instant reaction. And on days like today, man, it is frustrating. It is the wins out of the sails and any other negative emotion you can elicit, because that one was tough to watch down the stretch. Guardians win it 5-4. We'll break down the bullpen blowing a late lead, all the costly mistakes that were made throughout this game, and the fact that you still had a better than reasonable chance. I mean, this game was there for the Tigers, but the Guardians get 3 late runs, one in the 8th, one in the 9th, and then win it in the 9th. And the road trip as a whole, this just stings on a way to end it. 1-5 on the road trip. We'll talk about that and wrap it up with our studs and duds. But right now, I want to thank eBay Motors for making today's show possible. From brakes to exhaust kits, eBay Motors has your back. That's right. Let me just tell you, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available for U.S. customers. All right, where to begin with this one? And if you were watching it at home, it's an afternoon game. The road trip's not been good, but here you are, a chance to win the last 2 games of the road trip. Feel good going home, an off day tomorrow, weekend series against the Astros, and it just all went to you know what. And it starts with the mistakes, because even jump back all the way to the bottom of the second inning when the Guardians got their 2 runs. It was the error by Ibanez that allowed those 2 runs. And in a lot of ways, that error from Ibanez really shortened the day for Reese Olson, who, once again, it just has to be the most unlucky pitcher in all of baseball, because once again, he puts forth a really quality outing, does everything right, gives his team a chance to win, and is still winless on the season. He went 6 innings, allowed just 1 hit, 2 runs, one of them earned, with 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. But again, that Ibanez error in the second inning was just so costly. And that kind of set the stage for what would inevitably happen down the stretch, where it's just costly mistakes, because they get that cheap run in, they being the Guardians, get that cheap run in the 8th in a 4-2 game when Jake Rogers, uncharacteristically, and I hate to harp on him because he's so good behind the plate normally, but he throws a ball in which he has no chance to get the runner, stealing to second. He throws it into center field. I mean, Javy, I can't blame him. He had no chance on that ball. Rolls into center field, base runner advances to third, and all of a sudden you've got a runner on third with just the 1 out. And again, these are just mistake-laden plays throughout the course of that game. And it allowed Jimenez to just have an easy, weak ground out to score the run from third, making it 4-3. And at the time, you still don't feel like it's the biggest deal in the world, because you feel good about the bullpen and you still have the 1-run lead. But we all know what happened in the 9th inning. That's where the solo home run from David Fry, of all people. And this is also, maybe it's just the way it kind of represents and paints the picture of how this road trip went for the Tigers. It's a lazy fly ball that somehow found its way out of the ballpark. And maybe that's not fair to David Fry, but looking at the box score right now, on ESPN here, it charts it at 334 feet. The reaction from Kerry Carpenter as he's chasing it in right field, he feels like he has a chance to make a play, and then it just kept carrying. And Chafin, not a guy that normally gets animated and upset, was beside himself after that ball cleared the wall and right, and we were tied up with one out in the ninth. And at that moment, with the feeling, the dejected feeling of the wind being left, out of the sails for the Tigers, you felt like maybe just given the way this team has shown some resiliency in later innings, that maybe they could still find a way to scratch and claw. But oh no, what happens in the 10th inning? Well, we've got a base running error from Javy Baez. Now, the batter was our guy Valade, up there with the runner on second to begin the 10th inning with just with nobody out. Hard ground ball to shortstop, and Javy just can't. Javy gets picked off, and that's just a base running error. It was right at the shortstop. It sucks in the moment because that batter's one job is to get the runner to third, and Valade didn't do that, obviously. But you can't compound the hitter's mistake of grounding it to shortstop by getting picked off second base, because I know this is, everybody write this one down. I'm going to have some baseball wisdom for you. A runner at second with one out is still better than a runner at first with one out. So a base running error there from Javy Baez. And again, it's going to sound repetitive, but in a game you felt like you had it in the bag. You make mistake after mistake after mistake to ultimately gift wrap this one for the Guardians, and you finish the road trip 1-5. So let me know what you think in the comments. I know everybody's busy during the day on here on the YouTube after a day game, but just a really disheartening way to end the road trip for the Tigers and at Progressive Field in Cleveland, because there was a lot of good that could have come from this game. And that's, again, my apologies. We're on a little bit later than normal, but a little look and behind the curtain, how the sausage is made. But I've got everything ready to go and ready to go live on the air, and all of a sudden Chafin gives up the ninth inning. So Reese Olson doesn't get the win. The Tigers don't end the road trip with two wins, and the Tigers don't take the series. So those are all fun things that have to be changed in the notes. And before you know it, we're on the air a little bit later than normal. But appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, the Tigers bullpen blows the late lead, which was uncharacteristic, especially just less than 24 hours after the bullpen looks so good. And I don't want to... Yes, I put this on the bullpen a little bit, but again, the Andy Ibanez error in the second, the Jake Rogers throwing, and I guess you could call it a two-base error with Jake Rogers on the throwing it into center field on the runner trying to take second. But and if you remember, Wentz had already gone over to first two different times, meaning he couldn't go over there anymore. So the runner got a great jump there, and Rogers really had no chance to throw the runner out. And therefore, you got to be smarter than that. You can't. I know it's a physical mistake, but in another sense, I do think there's a mental component to that mistake with Jake Rogers as well, letting that ball just get away from him into center, trying to be the hero and still get the runner out. And then in the ninth, the home run to tie the game from David Fry, which again it's tough pill to swallow any way you slice it. And then in the 10th, interesting decision. I don't know if it was the right one, if it was the wrong one by AJ Hinch to bring in Perez to play that fifth infielder spot and then just have the two outfielders with a runner on third. And it ends up being a line drive to center that probably was deep enough to score. And I say probably, I'm just going to go ahead and say it was deep enough to score the runner on third there in the home half of the 10th inning with Lange pitching. But when you don't score in the top half of the 10th inning, given the format of the gimmicky runner on second with nobody out to start the inning, it allows the home team to lay down the sacrifice bunt, which is what Freeman did. Loreno goes to third, and then the line drive into center field, allowing Loreno to score. So any way you slice it, there's not really any good news with this one. And I just, you scratch your head a little bit. and it's the double palms up feeling. I did, while I was preparing or updating, I should say, some of the graphics and everything. Of course, I had the post game on, and I say what I will about AJ Hinch. Sometimes his demeanor bugs me because, there were some decisions that you can ask about in this situation, given the way the Tigers decided to approach this game from a managerial sense. And AJ Hinch just never wants to provide any type of answer to suggest why he did what he did. And the point I'm referring to, you had Foley go in and pitch two outs in the 7th inning there. And I would like to hear a further explanation. A lot of times we hop on here right after the game, so I don't hear all of the AJ Hinch sound post game until after the broadcast because we're on at the same time. But I'm curious into the rationale, and nobody's questioning, and maybe there is an element of questioning, but you're the manager. That's your job. Just tell us what the thought process was. And the little bit I caught of the Tigers live post game today, he was not into that. But appreciate everybody tuning in, even after a disheartening loss like this, disheartening road trip, 1-5, off day tomorrow for the Tigers. But man, this one stings all the way. Mark D. Short 108 says, bro, Chafin's reaction, laughing face. Yeah, that part. Okay, we can add a little comedic relief to all of this because Chafin's in the dugout after letting the Guardians tie the game and does the glove slam or kick, whatever it was. And he's right next to Vlade. And all of a sudden, I think he has the thought process of, oh, man, that's the new guy. I don't want him to think I'm crazy. And he kind of gave him a nudge and a nod like, hey, we're good here. Sorry about that. But that said, this one just sucks all the way around. Jake245 says, Carey had a heck of a game, 2 doubles and amazing defensive plays. Yeah, he did. And that was part of what I wanted to lead with today. If the bullpen could have done their job and hung on. Colt Keith, a huge clutch 2-run hit with in a big spot there. And this was the type of game up until the bullpen blew it that I have to kind of I guess, for all the grief I give the front office, the way this team is constructed, this was the type of game that this team is constructed to win. Low scoring, great pitching, bullpen does their job, offense does just enough, and you win a 4-2 game. That's the way this game was set up, and the Tigers bullpen just, and to a worth also mentioning the defense as well, with the Ibanez error, the Jake Rogers error, and then just some of the mistakes that were made. I guess you could add the Javy Baez base running blunder in the 10th there. Those are all just mistakes that don't equate to winning baseball. A couple other comments. My guy Broder tuning in. Appreciate that. As always, should have swept the Guardians. That series tough coming home, losing 2. No doubt. Yeah, 2 one-run losses that were really disheartening. I got to stop using that word. Depressing, maybe. I probably shouldn't use that word. Sad, maddening, all of the above. But yeah, you look at this road trip, and even going back to the first game in the Bronx against the Yankees, you're up 1-0 and you blow that game in the 9th. So uncharacteristic all the way. I think the off day tomorrow will be welcome. But we're going to break down Reese Olson's start and wrap it up with our studs and duds because, like I said, there are a lot of really good things to take from Reese Olson's start, and I'm officially declaring him the most unlucky pitcher in baseball. So don't go anywhere. More in a moment. All right, today's show made possible by DoorDash. That's right, this Mother's Day. Get something thoughtful for your mom on DoorDash. Surprise her wherever you are with fresh bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day that much better. It's never too late to show your mom love this Mother's Day with DoorDash. Surprise mom with flowers, gadgets, self-care essentials, all in one place, delivered right to her door. That's a winning combination right there. Does your mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. Pair flowers with a gift card, and she can celebrate any way she wants. And remember, it's always the thought that counts, right? always the thought that counts. So use code locked on MLB. Want to make sure I give you exactly the right place to go. That's right. Locked on MLB is your code to use. Get all your Mother's Day gifts in one place. Get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend 15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code Locked On MLB. That's Locked On MLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms do apply. Today's show also made possible by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. The Tigers bullpen could use some of that level up to peak performance. We're talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. So whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or your money back. How about the peace of mind there? I wish I could have my money back on today's game, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. And here we go, getting into the Reese Olson start. Again, the unluckiest pitcher in baseball. And I'm sure the numbers and the metrics and analytics and all those other fun baseball terms that everybody always uses would back that up as well. But the guy doesn't deserve to be winless on the season. He's put consistent effort after consistent effort for this Tigers team and given them a chance to win. And whether it's the defense letting them down today with the Ibanez error, the offense not providing any run support, and I may be making too much of this than it actually is. I don't know. I don't know Reese Olson personally. I don't know. I think every pitcher's wired a little bit differently. But if I'm him and I look up and I see the big goose egg under my record, I got to be thinking, what else do I have to do here? What else can I do to get a win? And I know pitchers and the baseball geniuses will tell you win-loss is not a indicative measure of a starting pitcher's performance. I get all that, but the competitor in you wants to get the win, and I'm sure Reese Olson is feeling that way. Let's get into some of the comments here. Mark D. Short 108. Olson pitched great. Tough to lose that in the end. Almost had a no-hitter. Yeah, really, really good. Mary Jo Isaacson tuning in. I know she was at the game. Shout out to her. We lost by air. Sure did. I don't know if you were on earlier, Mary Jo, but we had the discussion with Jake Rogers throwing it into center field. Can't have that. Ibanez sailing the throw. Can't have that as well. Just a lot of mistakes that were made. And again, it seems to always happen when Reese Olson is on the mound. But 6 innings pitched, just the one hit, 2 runs, only one of them earned. But again, that play from Ibanez, you can't assume the double play, but man, it's just a double palms up feeling. 4 strikeouts for Reese Olson. And unfortunately, it was the bullpen that they were the hero last night in terms of the defensive effort. But this afternoon, part of the unraveling in this one, when you have a 4-2 lead, and look, I know there are high leverage situations, and it seemed like a day where the ball was blowing out, and the 9th inning was very much indicative of that. But as the bullpen, if you're going to be the strength of the team when you have a 4-2 lead after 6 innings, you got to feel like you've got the chance to win. You got to get, let me do some quick math here. You got to get 9 outs without giving up 2 runs, and the bullpen unable to do that. Again, interesting decision by AJ Hinch to go with Foley in the 7th inning there for 2 batters. Curious your thoughts on that one. Just because AJ Hinch has clung to that line of thinking that, hey, I don't have a predetermined closer. We're going to manage each game individually in terms of the bullpen. So what the decision was there, I don't know. And again, he was asked about it post game, but again, we had to jump on here. So the live instant reaction, I'm not going to have that thoughtful analysis on his reaction to that, but tough luck for Reese Olson. And I know it's a long season. You can't dwell on it, but this could be one of those times where, depending on how the rest of the summer shakes out, you look at this 1-5 road trip and you think, man, there were 3 games here that this team, if they're built the way they are and they perform the way and execute the way they're capable of, that first game in New York, and then that both this could have been a sweep. I forget who said it. This could have been a sweep in the comments. Broder, it was my guy Broder over there at Woodward Sports, who does such a tremendous job. This absolutely could have been a sweep, and you sweep the series. And if ifs were this, we'd all be drunk, right? But that's not the case. So no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Tigers went 1-5, and it's a disappointing road trip any way you slice it. Off day tomorrow to clear the head, and then we get back at it with a weekend series against the Houston Astros. Also, you never want to look too far ahead in terms of the schedule game, especially in May for that matter. But after the weekend series against the Astros, part of that 6-game homestand, you're then taking on one of the worst teams in baseball against the Miami Marlins. But we're not going to get into all of that again. That's way too much schedule watching for me in the month of May. But I guess worth noting that maybe some get right games here in the near future, but an opportunity to take 3 games against the divisional leader this is a wasted opportunity. There's no other way to slice it. But we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds, look ahead to some of the pitching matchups for the upcoming weekend series, and tie a bow on it here as we continue on Locked On Tigers postcast. And don't forget, if you're watching Fox Sports or ESPN all day, you probably have to turn down the volume, all that shouting. How about you make the switch to Locked On Sports entirely? It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. How about that? Just logical, analytical discussions, right? Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We wrap it up in just a moment. Hey, today's show is also made possible by Prize Picks. What's Prize Picks? Well, it's simple. The most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and it is somewhat addicting. I absolutely love it because it's simple. You pick more, you pick less, you watch the winnings roll in. It's that easy. We know spring training is over, baseball season well underway, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Pick entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less, add them to your Prize Picks entry. Get in on the playoff action as well, up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks, as we've got the world's best players going head-to-head, game-to-game, and a new level during the NBA and NHL postseason. I was dialed into that Stars and Avalanche game last night. Unfortunately, the Avs came back and won in overtime. Made me mad. But don't worry, my Prize Pick of more goals still hits. There were 7 of them. Prize Picks is the best way to get in on the action. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like Meek Mill and Sugar Sean? Oh, yeah, you can find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries. Prize Pick even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For baseball games, if you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances or less, Prize Picks will have your back and not count that as a loss. So how about that? Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, it's very simple. You download the app, Prize Picks, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and we will offer a first deposit match up to $100. Who doesn't love free money? Speaking of money, Prize Pick now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this basketball season. How about that? Download the app and use code LOCKEDON for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, studs and duds portion of the program. I won't spend a lot of time on the studs because when you go 1-5 on a road trip and you gag this game away, it's not really worth that. But Reese Olson deserves a shout out. Again, one hit baseball over 6 innings, deserved better fortune. The very, very costly error by Ibanez, and hard to really, not actually, I shouldn't say that. Ibanez had a nice series at the plate. Although today just 1 for 5, but that game yesterday was one of the better offensive performances we've seen from a Tiger in recent time. However, you got to be able to do it in the field as well. And unfortunately, based on the brand of baseball that the Tigers play, the margin of error being so small, especially defensively, when that's supposed to be a strength of your team, when you make those errors, they're magnified. And when the margin of error is so slim and the opposition takes advantage, and it's a good team like the Guardians appear to be in first place in the AL Central, those mistakes are magnified. And the same with Jake Rogers. So let's go ahead and add our duds to this portion of the program. The duds, the defense, the bullpen, altogether just not winning baseball in those final 3 innings, and you let a win get away. And I know there's 162 of these games. I'm not going to continue to scream into the microphone and say the same thing over and over again, but this one hurts and this one stings, especially given how avoidable it was. And that's the 3rd time this road trip that you think, wow, this Tigers baseball team let that one get away. This was a game they should have had any way you slice it. So I meant to bring this up earlier, and I guess we've got a couple of minutes left here, but I think the Guardians might have one of the worst jersey patches, and we know a thing or two about bad jersey patches here in Detroit. Don't even get me started on the Red Wings sweater. I'm not even going to say the name of that jersey patch, but there's something about the Marathon jersey patch that just jumps out for all the wrong reasons for the Guardians uniform. Just my opinion. And I'm not a fan of jersey. I don't think anyone's a fan of jersey patches by any means, when it's the corporate sponsor. But I think some of them don't look as tacky as others. And just the giant Marathon patch, I don't know if it's the color of it or whatnot, but I wrote that down just as one thing to add in there. Not sure if anyone else felt that way. And when you lose 2 or 3 to those guys, you're mad and you just want to get those thoughts out of your head and vent a little bit. So thanks for listening to me on that one. I think the Royals is really bad too. I think the color of it has a lot to do with it, with the Royals uniform, because it's a red patch on a uniform that just has no red. So it's just that awful eyesore. But anyways, other than the jersey patch being a dud for the Guardians, they get the win because they were better today. They were better down the stretch, and the Tigers gift wrapped this one by a score of 5-4. So thanks so much for tuning in. As always, don't forget to like the channel, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. Hey, we enjoy doing this. We enjoy talking Tigers baseball, even if the ball doesn't bounce our way from time to time, even if this team makes it difficult to root for them. But we enjoy commiserating, whatever you want to call it, after each and every Tigers game. So appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Doesn't cost you anything. Go ahead and tell a friend about it as well. Locked On Sports Detroit on YouTube. And of course, the audio only version available wherever you get your podcasts in association with the Locked On Tigers. And speaking of Locked On Tigers, make sure you tune in to Scott Bentley. I always love hearing his opinion and analysis and reaction to games like these. I think Scott and I are in line on a lot of our thoughts. We'll have to jump on together on one of these postcasts here in the near future. But that'll do it for this edition of our Locked On Tigers postcast. Guardians win it 5-4. Tigers end the road trip 1-5, fall all the way down to 19-18, now 11-9 on the road. Guardians continue their first place in the American League Central, 24-13, 12-6 at home. Oh, our look ahead for this weekend. We know Astros in town for a 3-game series over the weekend, followed by the Marlins. Friday's pitching matchup, Casey Mize will go for the Detroit Tigers. The Astros are really struggling too. And I kind of joked that the Marlins is a get-right game, but don't look now. But the Astros are also in last place. But we know that roster is loaded. So big series coming up this weekend after an off day tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, appreciate you tuning in. Shout out to the real ones in the comments. We got Broder, we got Mary Jo Isaacson, Mark D. Short, Jake 245. And I appreciate each and everyone's commitment and reaction to the shows. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you soon on Locked On Tigers, Locked On Sports Detroit, Locked On Tigers Postcast. There we go. See ya.